Lastly is the biggest one, or at least the most consequential and probably most controversial category, which is what we call, and thanks to my co-host Zach Wildman for coming up with these categories. And this last one is called Never Mind, We're Changing Shit Up. This is the hardest retcon of them all, whereas a lot of the other ones we could probably call soft retcons. So this one is not canceling out maybe a plot or something outright. We all know it's not good storytelling if someone just says, hey, it turns out that movie didn't happen. That doesn't happen in Star Wars. It does happen in other continuity where they just say, hey, we're going to continue on from movie 1 and 2, but movies 3 and 4, that continuity no longer exists. That's not quite the level of where Star Wars gets, but there are things that do kind of undo things from the past that we can take big note of. The most egregious examples probably that are top of mind for people are Legends. All the Legends books, all that material, video games, things like that, all are, after the acquisition that Disney made, are all no longer canon. And that in itself is a retcon. So that's, for a lot of fans, they're still angry about that. Personally, I don't care that much most of the time, although I do have some favorite, of course, my favorite things I'm kind of wish were part of the canon, but I can understand why they're not. But Legends, getting rid of Legends itself is sort of a retcon. The movie Han Solo, for example, could be considered a retcon. It does a couple of different things, for instance, how he got his name, but for me, the biggest one was his redemption arc starting a lot earlier in life. So he really, as you saw him as a man, a character on screen, he was a scoundrel who became honorable by helping out his friends in the rebellion. That's essentially his character arc. He became a better person, and he was servicing a cause greater than himself for once. That's essentially the story of him. But the movie Han Solo has him being more of a redemptive character from a much earlier part of life. In fact, you could argue that he never really was this scoundrel type person, but he was just in a bad situation and had to make the best of it. So I think that's kind of a retcon. But overall, like, there are definitely like specific things in the movies where, towards the end, he agrees to kind of help, or he wants to help the rebels. There's a section of rebels that he decides to help. So I think that's a case of retconning there. There are a lot of retcons in The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker as well from the newer canon. For instance, Snoke, we all know that character did not end up being the big threat, the big bad guy that we all believed he was set up to be in the later movies. We also learned that through The Last Jedi that Luke's lightsaber, or Anakin's lightsaber, was not really that important at all because Luke kind of tossed it to the side. Another thing from the Rise of Skywalker for me that really stood out was R2-D2 had his memory wiped from all of the events of The Last Jedi. And that to me was sort of an allegory for how the fans like kind of are supposed, that basically kind of like it's a meta for like, yeah, we kind of want to forget a lot of things that happen in this movie, and we want you to forget about it too. So those are some of the biggest retcons that we talked about in our podcast. And if you want to listen to the full episode, it's on all the major podcast platforms such as Spotify or Apple Podcasts. But you can find us at Star Wars Loose Cannon. Just search that into any podcast platform, and you'll find us, and you'll find the full episode. So if you want more of this content, head over there. But for now, thanks for listening.